Brothers, war is not something to be rejoiced at world over. The entire humanity has to face some kind of handicaps. Also, if there is crisis in one part of the world, it affects the entire world. It's like a butterfly effect. I've been avidly watching news after news, and the last 2 months, I guess, in February, this Israel-US started bombing Iran unilaterally, in the sense that for the time being there was no retaliation, and Iran was almost forced to retaliate within the limited range and with the limited resources in its neighboring countries. Probably that was kind of desperate situation it has to resort to, or probably it was to weaken the will of these mighty powers. Trump administration has always been vocal and has been ruthless, and has kept warning of the direst consequences, starting with bunker buster bombs and B-2 steel bomber. And has been gloating over all the time, is boastful of. It was a vainglorious attempt at bringing the impression to the world, including NATO and the rest of his allies, that if unaided or unsupported, or US can alone, it can suffice to take over any part of the world at its whims and fancy. It can evict or extract Nicolas Maduro. It can topple regimes after regimes. It can more kind of invasion at its will, because the mighty power and the firepower that has amassed, and it has been a superpower, being superpower, and has had a veto in the UN, and has so far remained unchallenged, and none has ever dared to confront it in true sense, except for the first time that a small, tiny nation, Earth, already reeling under the pressure of almost decades of embargo and sanctions, and also all kind of punitive measures, whether it's like international agency, atomic agency has been safeguarding or has been monitoring or supervising Iran's nuclear peaceful ventures into that every country has the right to, in fact, unless it is upgrade to the enrichment level where it can really pose a serious danger to the world by acquiring nuclear power capabilities and gate crashing to the umbrella of a certain number of countries who have always been the votary of unilateral possession of this lethal weapon. Although it acts like the biggest deterrent, and every nuclear powered nations, whether it's done clandestinely, having to reach the stage stealthily or with embargo sanctions, with supervisions and all that. No doubt India has been really successful in its pursuit, and so far amicably settled with, and has never raised any eyebrows among the superpowers, including Pakistan's efforts at acquiring some sort of, whether it's undeclared or. But the thing is that one nation has every right to obtain the technology, being invited by superpowers of enrichment facilities, whether it's for peaceful means or whether it's for destructions or weapons of mass destructions, under the pretext of which Many of the countries have been invaded by the US, and this US misadventure or enterprising uh, commitment to bring about peace and through regime changes, and also its lofty principles of UN Charter of Peace Initiative, and Trump being the the biggest claimant of being victorious as a peacemaker of the world, institution committed to peace, and also forming alliances after alliances, but it has its credibility is eroding fast. It's losing its grounds. It's losing its partners' confidence, which was taken for granted for decades. NATO members are not really forthcoming, and they're not willing to participate in this nefarious game of ending which sees no signs of abatement or ending in the sight. Because war has, it's like a procrastinations of delayed attempts by Pakistan for bringing the warring factions or parties to the negotiation table, and then ceasefire is clinched. That's too fragile to hold on for long, because unless there's long-lasting peaceful solutions as being sought after by the new regime, Mujtaba Khamenei, after his father's demise, which was indeed not in the interest of the world global peaceful coexistence and new world order, where superpowers or any country could hold any other country for ransom, and whether it's a dictatorial regime or whether it's a despotic ruler, could be in Cuba, it could be in Iran, it could be somewhere else. But this is setting a very wrong precedence of literally hijacking or a kind of assault on the sovereignty of a republic or a sovereign state. So this cannot prolong for like this, and obviously, U.S. Diplomacy has failed, and it has resorted to military alliances and military takeover, and it has already imposed its own kind of sanctions, and Hormuz has been closed. It's not allowing any Iran ships to and fro and it's already stopped one of the ships which was carrying the flag of Iran, but under proxy of China. China being one of the prime mover of all these negotiations behind the scene, because China knows that the economic losses, that's huge, and worldwide, the world over, this crisis of fuel, and they cannot survive without these tankers being held, thousands of them, export, import, and style logistics in utter disarray. And all of us are bearing brunt of, in India, this crisis, in Pakistan, this crisis of energy, and even the aviation industry is at peril, because I've heard that Lufthansa Airlines are going to close their operations because of the scarcity of fuel. And obviously, we cannot go on without, and how far we can be careful with consumptions of the essential, like fuel for cooking, fuel for transport, and that adds to the burden to the commoners who are already paying the prices, and the prices are going, through the roof, which is beyond the. So this is a calamity sought after or wanted by some of the, warring nations, and I would call them, because it's not an attempt to bring about peaceful solutions to this long-held feuds among Arabs and Israelis. And Israel has already been into full fury and this epic fury, which is known as also there was a meme calling it as an epic fear. So no doubt, it's an imbroglio. It's a stalemate, a diplomatic stalemate. It's a and UN body is getting even more defunct with its ineffectiveness, with inefficiency, with all the world bodies at loggerheads, and nobody's listening to anyone's. So a small tiny nation like Pakistan is really commendable that it has come forward, bring about because of its leverage and its affinity and its trust building and confidence measures, and it has been there have been steps moving forward by Oman, and but all the traditional peacemakers, or say diplomatic efforts being made by the countries, have been sidelined. And for the time being, at least Iran and US also. I don't know about Israel's, because by the time there was a truce and ceasefire clinched, Israel was bombing Lebanon, and it was a vow to erase, as Trump has vowed to obliterate, and the civilization, a thousand years civilization, and this is absolutely inhumane to even conceive. I mean, how come superpower, the nation which has been at the forefront of policy making, which all the organizations, peaceful organizations working, it vowed to obliterate a nation at large, and says 20 years would take 20 years for revival of. It's already made a lot of dent in the economy. It has gone for civil infrastructure. It hasn't abstained from bombing hospital or schools, and to the epic fury began with bombing a school with 200 plus children living, 200 children dead. This is really outrageous, and the world over, I mean, there's no hue and cry, and who is going to be held responsible for this ruthless, reckless, and outrageous act of civilian casualties in the name of bringing about peace? And Trump himself wanted to be to be awarded Nobel Peace Prize, and so this doesn't go well in tandem with his policies of invasion after invasion, attacks after attacks, and then holding the entire Hormuz waterways. So it's all the same. And Iran has stopped, and it has kept open for its allies, and it has kept so foes, they were not allowed to. Now it's the US doing the same thing. It has banned all the Iranian ships to and fro. That's the nerve system, because all the oil being carried forward of all entire freight forwarding, and so the entire region is beset with thorns, and the entire Gulf is bearing the brunt because of the two parties not coming to terms, because of the fragility of this truce or ceasefire, which is fortunately extended for a day or two until today. So Trump administration continues to threaten and goes with the blockade of its own, with its military might in the region, with thousands of Marine corps. Even ground invasions is not off the table, and is hell-bent upon almost the exterminations and annihilations of a civilized world, which at least has its rights to its own sovereignty, and is trying to raise the public anger against the administrations because of the poverty, because of the economic distress, and so this is not a way forward. And obviously, U.S. could have been thumping its chest and bring about, missiles firing from Iran, depletions up to 90% and 10%. But a country, if it is hell-bent upon its own extinction and it's a survival technique, it can regroup, remanage resources to uh, rebrand itself as and its proxies elsewhere and everywhere. So this is desperations that probably Trump administration has forced this country to, and Trump's own rating and credentials is at stake. He's losing his popularity in the second term. He used to bring about economic gains too, and all the gains, all the trade pacts he has made world over with his tariff impositions, and then he also threatens every country with his hefty tariff, which isn't working in the sense that it has made goods more expensive. It has choked the economic gains, the economic structure, the entire logistics world over. And it's not in the interest of the US as being the supreme commander, supreme leader, or the world leader, or supreme power with its veto, and to continue supporting an ally, Israel, which is all hell bent upon destroying the peace and stability in the entire region. And it has its own hidden agenda of extermination of certain populace, and in the name of its high and lofty principles of its own religious beliefs and all that. So what's lying ahead is not at all in interest of any of the warring factions, warring communities, or warring countries. So what I mean to say that it has never been interest of any part, any community, any to continue waging wars one after the other with loads of depletions, own forces, and force also is stretched to the point when they don't have any appetite for further raging wars and continue fighting because resources are limited, and we always had depletion. Whether it's a superpower, it's a small nation. Moreover, whatever is being squandered in the name of military build up, arsenals, and capacity building and all, could have been spent for human welfare. Well, on the one hand, the NASA is sending astronauts to explore the possibility of inhabiting Moon after 50 years, and I was really it was a dramatic irony for me that the moment Trump was threatening to exterminate the Iranian civilization to the point of its obliteration for the rest of the centuries, even not shying away from attacking energy facilities and civil structures, and it has already blown a bridge and bring the regime to bow down, to bring to his knee, feet, as if the rest of the world is the command of the other country. It was congratulating those super astronauts who had spent around 10 days, and I have been watching every move and every experience of those guys, which have been made possible after 50 years of his adventure, the first landing, first steps in the moon, which is not really very exciting to. But since AI industries are trying to build AI cloud centers and data centers because it's maybe cost effective, fuel efficient, energy efficient, and all that, because the Earth cannot support. So on the one hand, we're trying to congratulate those people, and US being one of the prime adventures stepping into this world where we could think of from the moon base stations, and then interplanetary civilizations getting into Mars and all that, and having every country having hoping to ascend, as a tourism. And on the other hand, we are destroying this green Earth, which is the only green sustainable planet in the entire galaxies, any galaxy so far being unraveled. Earth is the greatest, the most wonderful, is most beautiful place to live, and that's the only promising land for entire humanity to survive, regardless of the advancement technology. And so what's the point of ravaging, leaving this is full of and lots of teething issues and beset with thorns of discord and feuds, and then thinking of moving to, or migrating to altogether desolate, dark space. I mean, it's all dark on the moon, and there's nothing which is exciting. And I couldn't even conceive of spending a day or two if I had a chance to. So let's say for Mother Earth, let's learn to coexist. Let's learn how to dismantle our lethal weapons and all intercontinental and ballistic missiles. And what is the point of building of so much of? And there's an blind arms race. We have already been to rest for around 50 years, and there was a new world order coming up with them. And I was really hopeful of having one of the best, era in our world over, because what you could achieve, as in scientific domain, we can we could find the cure for all the diseases with artificial intelligence into deployment and our services, and lots of promises, quantum computing and all that. So the point is that it's a retrogressive step when we advance our civilizations to the point where we have remarkable feats, we achieve so much, and then the other retrogressive and this uncivilized, uncivil way of creating warlike and warmongering, war situations where we can't see eye to eye, and the so far built up structures of world over, and with all the advancement, all the facilities, and they are being destroyed in the name of hegemony of a superpower, which doesn't see to it that it also bears brunt of. And so Americans are also doubting Trump's next moves, and they're losing confidence in him, and his popularity is plummeted. In fact, Americans are also paying the price, the like every gallon of oil is costing them $5, and so if the world has to be brought to a standstill, and it's a grinding halt to the entire progressive steps being achieved. The world bodies of every country should convene a special UN assembly where they should vow for not waging wars, and they should have a clear-cut policy. And let's have a world government. I was thinking on the line of why can't we have a world government? Well, all the world bodies, they set their agendas together for the upliftment of the poor, find disease for all the, find all the, a cure for all the dreaded diseases. Let's have the environmental pollution under control. We'll have the climatic welfare states. Let's be the steward of this land, Earth, which is already parched beyond measures, and which wants its own inhabitants to take care of itself. So being a steward of this Mother Earth, I would really appeal, and there's impassioned plea to the world bodies and the world government, the world leaders, and how so powerful they are. But they cannot take the whole entire Earth on ransom. simply because they want to continue ruling the roost, want to continue retaining the hegemony of the rest of the world. And this is not done, in fact. So, hoping for the best, and I'm really pray to Almighty that sense should prevail upon every parties that loggerheads, and in every country should. Let's hope that the ceasefire is turned into lasting solutions, amicable solutions, where Iranians have the right to enrich them for the peaceful means, and U.S. doesn't have to keep imposing sanctions and wage wars and Israel, the nickname of having a warmonger everywhere. I mean, let's not destabilize this world, you know. I'm fed. I'm sick of this kind of nefarious activities going on. Because I've seen the world in peace. I've seen the world growing into progressive nations, and we used to have a developing nation status for many of the struggling nations. Now we don't have any such developing nations. Most of the nations are developed in one sense or others. It's a derogatory to say that we are embarking on the 21st century civilized world. How can we take this world forward with all the claims of civilizational upliftment and civilization transition to interplanetary world, with all these wages and wars being waged, and all the feuds and conflicts not being settled? Wishing everyone peaceful coexistence with the entire humanity, not just one nation, everybody.